Sola days were marked by routine and solitude. Living with her Aunt Amara in the bustling city of Lagos, she spent most of her time either at school or helping her aunt sell akara at the roadside stall. Though quiet and reserved, Sola's mind brimmed with dreams of a better future, but the weight of being an orphan often left her feeling powerless. Her classmates at secondary school either pitied or ignored her, leaving her with only her books and occasional daydreams of escape. One fateful day, on her way home from school, Sola stumbled upon an unusual find. Nestled under a roadside bush was a glimmering string of beads, each bead carved with intricate patterns she had never seen before. Drawn to its beauty, she picked it up, unaware of the ripple effect this discovery would have on her life. The beads felt warm in Shola's hands, as though they held a life of their own. That evening, frustrated by her aunt's constant nagging about money, she held the beads and muttered a wish. "I just wish we had enough to be comfortable." The next morning, she woke to find an envelope stuffed with cash on their small table. Stunned but elated, Shola kept the secret to herself. At school, Damilare, a shy but kind boy from her class, noticed her sudden cheerfulness. Though he often admired her from afar, her happiness gave him the courage to say hello. Little did either of them know this interaction would be the beginning of an unbreakable bond and a dangerous journey. The joy from the beads quickly turned sour. When Shola wished for her bullies to leave her alone, she arrived at school to find that one of them, Chika, had fallen mysteriously ill. While the other students whispered rumors about curses, Shola couldn't shake the thought that her wish might have caused it. The beads, once a source of delight, now filled her with unease. Meanwhile, Damilare began to notice her distress. Though unsure of what was troubling her, he offered his company and humor to lift her spirits. Grateful for his kindness, Shola found herself opening up to him, though she kept the beads and their mysterious power a secret. Curiosity and fear drove Shola to test the beads further. She wished for better grades on a math test she hadn't studied for, and to her surprise, she scored the highest in her class. But her joy was short-lived. Her teacher, Mr. Balagan, accused her of cheating, tarnishing her reputation. Damilare defended her in front of their classmates, which deepened their connection. That evening, as Shola examined the beads in the privacy of her room, she began to suspect they were more than they seemed. Yet the cost of their power was becoming clearer, and she realized that the beads might not be the blessing she thought they were. Shola's aunt noticed her unease and asked what was troubling her, but Shola couldn't bring herself to tell the truth. That night, she overheard her aunt talking to a neighbor about a series of strange happenings in the area: missing items, mysterious illnesses, and unusual accidents. The coincidences felt too close to home, and Shola couldn't help but wonder if the beads were connected. Damilare invited her to join him at a local library to work on a group project. Though hesitant, she agreed, and their time together offered a brief reprieve from her fears. Yet, even in his comforting presence, the weight of her secret loomed. Shola's worst fears were confirmed when she wished for her tormentors to learn a lesson. The next day, 2 of her classmates got into a freak accident while attempting a prank meant for her. Though no one suspected her, the beads' power left her shaken. She resolved to stop using them, but the temptation lingered. During lunch, Damilare surprised her with an unexpected gift: a small book on African myths and folklore. His gesture warmed her heart, and she began to wonder if she could confide in him. For now, she decided against it, determined to solve the mystery alone. Damilare's attentiveness grew stronger, and he began walking Shola home after school. She appreciated his quiet strength and humor, though she felt undeserving of his kindness. One day, he noticed her fingering the beads around her wrist and asked about them. Shola brushed it off as a family heirloom, but his curiosity planted a seed of trust. As their friendship deepened, Damalaire opened up about his own struggles, including his father's illness and the pressure to excel in school. Shola saw a reflection of her own burdens in him, and the bond they shared became a source of solace. Shola's resolve to stop using the beads weakened as life at home grew more difficult. Aunt Amara fell ill, leaving Shola to handle the roadside stall alone. Desperate for relief, Shola whispered a wish for her aunt's recovery. The next morning, her aunt seemed miraculously better, her energy restored. But this time, the beads exacted a darker price. A neighbor's child fell severely ill without explanation. Damalaire sensed Shola's growing unease and invited her to visit a quiet riverside spot he frequented. There she felt a rare sense of peace and almost confessed the truth about the beads. Instead, she asked him if he believed in curses. His response, that power often comes with consequences, lingered in her mind long after they parted. Determined to uncover the truth about the beads, Shola visited the local library. She pored over books on African folklore, searching for anything resembling her find. One passage caught her attention, a story about beads imbued with the power to grant wishes, but cursed to harm others with each use. The description matched hers almost perfectly. That evening, Shola decided to show the beads to Damalaire. She needed help, and he was the only person she trusted. When she handed him the beads, he looked at her with both awe and concern, listening intently as she explained everything that had happened. Together, they vowed to find the original owner and put an end to the curse. Damalaire suggested they start their search at the marketplace, where Shola found the beads. Vendors shared stories of a traveling mystic who sold enchanted items before disappearing months ago. One vendor, an elderly woman, warned them to be careful. "Those who seek power must pay its price," she said cryptically, refusing to say more. As they left the marketplace, Shola felt a mix of fear and hope. For the first time, she wasn't alone in her quest. Damalaire's steady presence reassured her, even as the beads pulsed with a faint warmth in her pocket, as though warning her of the challenges ahead. That night, Shola dreamed of a figure cloaked in shadow, whispering warnings in a language she didn't understand. The dream left her shaken, but it also planted a clue, a symbol etched into the ground at the figure's feet. The same symbol was faintly engraved on one of the beads. The next day, she shared the dream with Damalaire, who suggested they search for the symbol in the folklore books. Their research led them to a story about a forgotten deity associated with justice and vengeance. It seemed the beads might be connected to an ancient ritual meant to balance scales, but at a terrible cost. The beads' influence continued to grow. A minor wish for better weather resulted in a sudden storm that flooded several homes near the school. The guilt weighed heavily on Shola, and her classmates began whispering about her strange luck. Damalaire encouraged her to stay strong, reminding her that they were making progress in their search. Despite his support, the strain was evident. Shola began to withdraw, fearing that every interaction might lead to another unintended consequence. Damalaire refused to let her bear the burden alone, convincing her that their journey was just as much his as it was hers. The elderly vendor at the marketplace finally relented after multiple visits from Damalaire and Shola. She revealed that the beads once belonged to her late sister, a seer who used them to grant justice to the oppressed. But after the seer's death, the beads were stolen and their power corrupted by greed. The vendor directed them to a shrine deep in the forest where the beads might be cleansed. However, she warned that the ritual would demand a significant sacrifice. Shola and Damalaire hesitated, knowing the path ahead would be fraught with danger. With a borrowed map and supplies, Shola and Damalaire embarked on their journey to the shrine. The forest was dense and alive with unfamiliar sounds, its towering trees casting eerie shadows. As they ventured deeper, the beads seemed to grow heavier, as though resisting their approach. Along the way, they encountered challenges, sudden storms, shifting paths, and strange visions. Each obstacle tested their resolve and brought them closer together. Despite the growing tension, their shared determination gave Shola a newfound sense of strength and belonging. Reaching the shrine, they were confronted by its guardian, a spectral figure who demanded to know their intentions. Shola explained the harm the beads had caused and begged for guidance. The guardian agreed to help, but warned that the cleansing ritual would test their deepest fears and desires. Shola and Damalaire braced themselves as the ground beneath the shrine began to glow, signaling the beginning of the trial. Uncertainty loomed, but they knew there was no turning back. The shrine's air turned icy as the guardian's test began. Shola and Damalaire were separated, each facing a trial born of their deepest fears. For Shola, the trial manifested as her classmates and aunt turning against her, blaming her for every harm caused by the beads. Their voices echoed around her, accusing and mocking, filling her with guilt and despair. For Damalaire, his trial was a vision of his father's worsening illness, paired with his family's financial struggles. He saw himself helpless, unable to provide the support they needed. Both teens felt the crushing weight of failure, but they also remembered why they had come. Shola clung to the memory of Damalaire's unwavering kindness, while Damalaire thought of Shola's quiet resilience. Drawing strength from these thoughts, they overcame the illusions, passing the first stage of the trial. The second trial was subtler, designed to tempt them with their greatest desires. Shola saw herself surrounded by wealth and admiration, her aunt healthy and happy, and the classmates who once mocked her now seeking her approval. The beads dangled in front of her, urging her to make one final wish to achieve it all. Damalaire's temptation was equally alluring, a future where his family was wealthy, his father cured, and his dreams realized. Yet amidst the illusions, both teens recognized the hollowness of these visions. They understood that achieving such dreams at the expense of others would only lead to emptiness. Together, they rejected the temptations, signaling their readiness for the final challenge. The shrine guardian reappeared, commending their resilience, but warning that the final step required a personal sacrifice. Shola learned that to break the curse, she had to give up the beads and relinquish their power forever. Though it seemed obvious, the beads had become a part of her, tied to her identity and struggles. Letting go felt like losing a piece of herself. Damalaire, too, was asked to make a sacrifice, his growing bond with Shola. The guardian warned that the ritual's cleansing might sever their connection, as the journey's purpose would be fulfilled. Though devastated by the possibility, Damalaire assured Shola that her happiness and freedom were worth any price. As the ritual began, the shrine's energy surged. The beads glowed brightly, their warmth intensifying as Shola placed them on the altar. Chanting filled the air, and the ground trembled. Shola felt the weight of the beads lifting from her soul, replaced by a profound sense of relief and clarity. Damalaire stood by her side, his quiet strength a source of comfort as the shrine's energy subsided. When the ritual ended, the beads shattered into dust, and the guardian vanished, leaving the forest eerily quiet. Shola and Damalaire felt an unspoken shift between them, a bittersweet acknowledgement that their bond had been forged in struggle but might not last beyond this journey. The walk back to Lagos was filled with quiet reflection. Though the forest was no longer threatening, its silence seemed to echo their shared sacrifice. Shola found herself dreading the return to her everyday life, but Damalaire reassured her that she had emerged stronger and more self-assured. As they neared the city, Shola realized how much she had grown. For the first time, she felt a sense of control over her life, unburdened by the beads or the guilt they had caused. She thanked Damalaire for standing by her, though the uncertainty of their friendship lingered. Back home, Shola was met with a sense of normalcy she hadn't felt in weeks. Aunt Amara was bustling about the house, her health fully restored. Though their financial struggles persisted, Shola felt more capable of facing them. She began helping more at the stall, drawing strength from her newfound confidence. At school, the whispers about her strange luck had subsided, and though her classmates still kept their distance, she no longer felt isolated. She carried herself differently now, her head held high as she focused on her studies and her future. Damalaire and Shola saw less of each other in the weeks that followed. Their bond remained, but both felt the natural pull of their individual lives. Damalaire threw himself into his studies and caring for his father, while Shola worked to rebuild her relationships with her classmates and aunt. Though the distance between them was painful, they both understood its necessity. The beads had brought them together, but their paths were now diverging. Still, the memories of their journey offered them strength in moments of doubt. One day, Damalaire approached Shola with a parting gift, a small bracelet he had made from river stones they had collected during their journey. "To remind you of how strong you are," he said. Touched, Shola promised to cherish it. In return, she gave him a notebook filled with her thoughts and sketches from their time together, a reminder of their shared courage and growth. They parted with the unspoken understanding that their connection, though fleeting, had forever changed them both. Months passed, and Shola's life began to flourish. Her grades improved, and she became more active in school activities, earning the respect of her peers. At home, she worked with her aunt to expand their stall, dreaming of bigger opportunities. For the first time, she felt truly content, her happiness rooted in her own efforts rather than external forces. Damalaire, too, found his stride. His father's health improved, and his family's financial situation stabilized. Though he missed Shola, he knew their journey had given him the strength to face life's challenges with renewed determination. One sunny afternoon, Shola returned to the riverside spot where she and Damalaire had often met. Sitting by the water, she reflected on how far she had come. The beads had brought her pain, but they had also led her to discover her own strength and the power of genuine connection. Though she didn't know if she would see Damalaire again, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for his role in her journey. With a smile, she stood and walked away, ready to face whatever life had in store for her, unafraid and unburdened, finally free,